Hello, Surf City. My name is Tom Herbell, and I am the Deputy Director of Public Works and City Engineer for this great city of ours. Today, our Pier Plaza is home to public events, arts, and marketplaces, and many celebrations. This is not a coincidence, but rather it is a planned space created following the reconstruction of our beloved pier, which had been destroyed by waves and rebuilt only a few years prior to this film, shot in 1998. In this episode, which originally aired on HBTV3 as a Heartbeat of Huntington Beach program, focusing on the contribution by the Public Works Department. We'll meet some of these people tasked with this project, from engineers to artists, and learn more about their contributions. Now, enjoy this episode of FlasHBack.
Hello there. Welcome to this edition of Heartbeat of Huntington Beach. I'm your host, Flint Morrison. You know, there's more than just surf and sand here at the beach at Huntington Beach. There's an entirely new focal point, and that focal point is the Huntington Beach Pier Plaza.
It's a very complex process that the project goes through. Once it goes through the conceptual design stage, and the various departments have had their input as far as what types of things that they're looking for, it goes into what's called the working drawing phase. And from that point forth is where I get involved, and the Public Works Department takes the lead in the development of what we call the working drawings, the construction documentation. And there are a number of issues that we take into consideration. I kind of think of myself as a master juggler at that point, because there's a lot of entities, departments that are involved in the project that you have to take into consideration. What we do is we work closely with the design consultant, and not only from a civil engineering point of view, but the coordination from the utility side of things, the services that you see on the pier. We obviously have Tower Zero and Ruby's Diner at the end, along with the abandoned facility that was here, Maxwell's by the Sea, and then Lifeguard Headquarters down the way. So there are a lot of things that we have to ensure that we maintain service and consider in the design aspect of the job, so that when it does go to constructions, we don't interrupt any service. There was a very defined area around the Maxwell's facility that we had to make sure that we stayed within that footprint, and that was a part of the entitlement and the environmental process that the project went through as a condition of approval. And to compound the problem further, it was a private development that was coming in to build the Duke's restaurant that we have out here. And so maintaining the limits within that defined area was a challenge, and one of the responsibilities that we had in the design, because it was a private development, it's a ground lease type situation where the developer comes in and builds the project, but the city itself was responsible to bring the utility services to the structure, and that included, water, sewer, telephone, electricity, and all of those things that make the restaurant what it is today right now. What I gained from the project and being involved in the project at the level I was at, it was extremely exciting, and at the same time it was very stressful because of the amount of responsibility that a project like this has. I learned a great deal of coordination and working with the various groups, not only within the city, but the utility agencies, the artists, and the design consultant team that had a lot to do with what we see here today. But I look back on it, and I feel fortunate that I had that ability to be that involved in, an over $6.5 million project that came in on time and under budget. And that was very satisfying for me. As I come out here and I bring my family and we look at what, was built and my involvement, although, there was a lot of people that were involved in this project. But as I look at it myself, I take a real genuine, not in a sense that it was all mine, but just I feel a good sense of pride that I was a part of it.
My responsibility begins once a contract is signed by the prime contractor. That prime contractor is responsible for all subletting of other contracts, the other electrical, landscaping, and things of that nature. So that's where my responsibilities begins, is once the contract is signed. On this particular project, we held progress meetings every week. It was that big of a project and that important to the city. Those project meetings, we identified where we're going right and problems that can occur or are upcoming so that we can answer or resolve those particular issues at that time. Those progress meetings in this case were very helpful, not only to the contractor but to the city as well. Anytime there's a contract let, there's a working days allowed to the contractor. Now that's a judgment. We try to maintain that working days, but there's other considerations such as weather, delays in getting materials and things of that nature, so that we try to maintain those working days that are allowed in the contract, but there are extenuating circumstances that go beyond that particular day. The only delay factor that we had on this project was El Nino. El Nino caused havoc. We have some photographs that show this place being an absolute flood. It looked like a lake there for a couple days. That caused havoc, and the fact that we were planning on ending the project theoretically around July, and we tried to move it up to June 5th to meet a grand opening celebration. It was very tough, and my hats go off to the contractor in this case. They really stepped up to the plate.
Talk to us about the monitoring of the demolition of Maxwell's, the old Palladium area.
Well, my monitoring began when my Last Supper was held there, so it was a very interesting procedure. It's a historic building in a sense because it was well known to the community. And the demolition of that took place. It was a piece-by-piece demolition because every stick, every large timber, every plank was reused. Similar to other aspects of the demolition of the entire project, it's quite unusual to see so much recycling going on this particular project. Not only with all the palm trees that we took out of the old parking lot and planted them into a temporary palm grove, but even the old asphalt, we had an on-site grinding facility that ground it up into what we call base material to be used underneath the asphalt that you see out there today.
In addition to working with a regular contractor, you had to work with artisans and so forth. Did that lend itself to any complexities?
Well, it's definitely complex when you have other contracts and contractors involved in the same sphere of influence. In this case, we not only had the Dukes and Chimayo people, but we had two artists that hired their own contractors to do their own work. We had to coordinate that and marry it into the general contract for the Pier Plaza. So we involved them into some of the progress meetings when it was their time to perform their work, such as the mural you see behind us or this wonderful amphitheater, this undulating stone as I call it.
I understand that even right down to the type of grass that was to be used in here, there were problems.
Well, the grass was, this is the type of grass that it was designed for saltwater environment. And the availability of that, as we live on the coast and there's other coastal communities, it's hard to come by. So we ordered that grass well ahead of time, knowing that we're going to be cutting the corners at the very end of the project to meet that celebration day. I'm amazed that this lawn is holding up as well as it looks as you see today.
That's good. Talk to us a little bit about the overall, and I know that you weren't that involved in the design, but more in the contract, but monitoring the contract as far as the design is concerned, because the design is very complex.
The design is set. What we look for is how to construct what they vision. We have artists, architects, and the like that have a vision that's placed on paper, and it's my job to ensure that the contractor can construct the things that they show on paper as their vision and what the community expects from the city on a project of this nature.
Were the pavers specially made just for this, or are they
No, they're not specially made, but they are ordered as you order them. They're not stocked. Some of these products, especially the green pavers, they have to make to our specifications and to our like. What they do normally is submit a couple samples, and then we agree to those samples, and that's a process in itself. And then once they get the samples approved, then they manufacture to that color and that texture.
Eric, tell us a little bit about some of the improvements that have taken place down here and how they're a benefit to the public.
Well, the improvements is all the utilities are now underground. So you're not going to have any wires and things of that nature overhead. So all the utilities, what I call dry utilities, electric, telephone, cable in this case, and things of that nature, are all underground. So they're not an obstruction or an eyesore to the public. So that's one of the major improvements in this area. Not only, it's a beautiful place to come down to and visit the beach, especially on a day like today. The design of this, as I see it, is that it's taken all those into considerations. The people that like coming to the beach and sitting and reading a book, to the people that like coming to the sand or in the surf, or to the people that like the rollerblade, skateboard, or literally jog along the beach. So all those are separated from each other so that they can enjoy themselves to their own quietness, and depending on the type of activity that they enjoy.
One of the other things that's a boon to the public is the amount of parking that's now available to them. Talk about that.
Well, this project added more parking in the same amount of space, even considering the amphitheater that you see behind us. I believe there's about 30 to 40 additional parking spaces in the same area. So we added parking for the public to use because there are times down here where parking is a premium.
Once again, let's stress some of the benefits to the public. All of the area here, the grass area, the seating area, let's talk about that.
Well, the benefit to the public is that you're driving along Pacific Coast Highway, there's no obstructed view. There's just no obstruction to look at the Pacific Ocean. The restaurant has the same profile as you see previously, and there's more area for people just to lounge around and view this environment that we have that we call the jewel of the Pacific.
One last question perhaps, and what do you feel in monitoring the entire project, because you were down here virtually every day, rain or shine, so forth, bad weather, whatever. What was the biggest problem that you individually faced? And then secondly, what was the biggest problem that the engineering department probably faced?
There weren't too many engineering problems to deal with once the plans were set. These were a well-developed set of plans. Quite fortunate in that regard. But the problems that is a typical, even regardless of the scale of the project, is making sure that the project is relatively on time. We maintain the project budget that's adopted by the council and ensure a quality project when it's complete, so that it's not just slopped together, that it's put together with professionals.
Tell us about your interaction with the various contractors, because not only was there the main contractor, but a lot of subcontractors. You had to deal with all of them. What kind of problems did arise?
Not too many in this case. This being a charter city, and we have to accept a low bid as long as it's responsive. We had the luxury in this case of having a real good contractor. Valley Crest is probably the top in their field when it comes to this type of project, where it involves a lot of landscaping, a lot of retaining wall type of work, and a lot of parking lot, a lot of civil work, which I call it. We had the luxury of having a real competent, qualified contractor in this case who worked with us. They were just as interested in seeing a quality project come in on time, on budget, as the city was. That's rare in the field that I work in.
Eric, let's talk for just a moment about the total design element. Were there problems, and what were things that worked out so well that you just couldn't hardly believe it, and you just said, wow, that is fantastic?
I would call them problems, but the design, as you see, especially in the paver area, where it's supposed to replicate a wave, it's got a waving action. Normally when you have pavers, you just have square cuts, and there's limited cuts on the outside. This one, literally, 1 out of 3 bricks had to be cut in some fashion. And that wasn't just simply cut. They had to go out there and scribe the curve and cut it to that curve. And there's a lot of elements that's different colors of concrete, different textures of concrete, where they had to be poured separately. And so that took a lot of time. And plus, you had to get the colors down just right so that they married with each other, so that the overall project, or the color, the scheme, would be appropriate for the public to view.
Well, I know that you have obviously a sense of pride. Talk about that just a little bit.
Well, I live in Huntington Beach. I've worked for Huntington Beach for over 25 years, or around 25 years, and I take pride in the projects that I'm involved with. I want to be able to show my children and my relatives and people that I'm friends of to come take them down to a place like this and say, this is what I was involved with, and I can see the shine on their face that this was a job well done also.
That final day, what are your feelings in that final day?
After 11 o'clock, I felt at ease. I felt like my old self. The worries were gone. I had just as enjoyable time as anybody else. Wonderful night, wonderful moon, wonderful concert.
Well, the City Council made me the project manager for the Pier Plaza back in 1992, so I've been working on it since its inception. And at that time we had a vision of the space we wanted to create, the type of improvements we wanted to provide, the functionality of the Pier Plaza in terms of a place for events and community activities. But to transform your vision into reality is really something that you never quite know, and you get very nervous about it during the design phase and during the construction phase. And the grand opening was really a way for us to test everything that was in our vision to see if it would work as an event space, as a gathering space, as a space accepted by the community as their town square, their area to be proud of. And as the project manager, I'm very proud that we accomplished that vision, and I think you'll see when you view the grand opening just how well the functionality works, what a great space it is for entertainment and events, what a great space it is just to come down and have lunch and enjoy the view, what a great space it is for the Arts and Crafts Fair and the Pier Plaza Presents series that takes place on the third weekend of every month, to come down and have dinner and then stroll the Pier Plaza area after your dinner at Duke's or Chimayo's. The functionality has worked really great. I don't think most projects that we do, and I've done a lot of projects in my 30 years in government, there's always something you would change, something you'd do differently. And I'm happy to say that I would not change anything on the Pier Plaza. The vision was accomplished, and it functions just as we anticipated that it would function, and it's been a great success.
He's living right here in Huntington Beach, the heart and soul of raging sun. Put it together, Huntington Beach for Steve Copeland! That's right. Yeah, how about it for the fellas in the band helping me out like that? Lay it down, TK, it sounds good. Come on. One more time, put your hands together. Come on. That's right. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who made this possible for us being here today. I'd like to thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight, too. Once again, I don't think you can do better than this, Huntington Beach. This is a beautiful place you've got here. Take care of it. You know, it's all up to us. It's up to everybody here to take care of this place so that way our future generations, little blues babies I see out here in the audience. Her too.
I think the community is really proud of the way Pier Plaza turned out. It's a beautiful space. I'm proud to be part of helping to build a program down here. And I actually think if people would be interested in the kinds of things that we're going to do over the next year, and we are putting together some more ways to let the public know about what's coming up in terms of a newsletter, information hotline. So if you'd like to be on our mailing list for events at Pier Plaza, people can call a hotline number, and that number is 374-1657.
Not only is the Huntington Beach Pier Plaza a gateway to our beaches as well as to our great pier, it's a place for entertainment, it's a place for people to gather, and it is the focal point of the new Huntington Beach. And it all came about because of our public employees, the heartbeat of Huntington Beach.